Metamorphosis. Chaos, chaos!
Chances are, if you have an understanding of Deltaruin, you've heard this laugh. To those unfamiliar with the topic, that laugh belongs to the first secret boss in Deltaruin, Jevil. Oh. The Joker playing card in the light world and a jester clown like Darkner, just a brief description. Although still very mysterious to this day, Jevil was Toby Fox's first push at making the player explore where the game doesn't tell you to go. A completely optional boss off the beaten path. However, if you make the effort to travel off, and instead of scaling the card castle to fight the Spade King, more on him later, I swear, you decide to travel to the basement, where you're faced with the eerie circus music and a giant prison cell, with a strange voice stating,
Shall you play a game with me? I'll show you what it means to be free.
After this, the strange voice then gives you information on how to make yourself free with him. There's no clear reason as to what you're freeing yourself from or why you'd want to, but we'll cover that later. But he does give you a location on where to start finding a key to free yourself and join him in his isolation. Lastly, he tells you to talk to an old shopkeeper and that he knows a secret. Even though we've just scratched the surface with Jevil, there's much more to understand about him. Let's properly introduce Seam, or how he says it, Sham. Anyway, he's also known as the Old Shopkeeper, and he's someone you meet early in the chapter who sells you goods, just your average shopkeeper, but he seems to know more than he lets on. However, once you bring up a strange prisoner to him, he questions your motives about fighting Jevil, but he ultimately gives you part of the key and says to have fun with Jevil. I mean, he's been locked up so long, how crazy can you go, am I right? And once you return to Sham with Jevil being defeated or spared, he shines some light on his past with Jevil and mentioned the games they used to play as court jesters and magicians. At some point, he even considered Jevil a friend. However, this all changed once Jevil met someone. This someone changed Jevil's views on the world, causing him to grow insane, spouting nonsense. But somehow, Sham described his speech as still comprehensible. And although this changed Jevil for the worse, seeing things as a simple game, with the other Darkners being the players, this led to Sham stealing Jevil away from everyone, as he grew too chaotic. But right before Jevil was sealed up, he spread his forbidden knowledge, especially to the king. The same king whose basement he's trapped in, this king, the Spade King to be specific, was believed to have had major implicated involvement with the Roaring Knight. Only as recent of Chapter 3, it's now revealed that the king never met the knight, speaking so highly of them during his fight. So how did Jevil learn everything he knows about the world he lives in? And especially things like the Roaring Knight. The Shadow Crystal. Small glass-like shard that is very odd in its nature. It has a unique property of really only being owned by secret bosses, and when you finally do get one off of Jevil, you can take these shards back to Sham, who will tell you that they really only come from strong adversaries. And he can even use some of them to craft something unknown for the player once we gather more. This is great and all, whatever, but this shard is just the start of something very important. As in the light world, the shard is separate from the ball of junk. You can't throw it away, and Chris feels it's too important. Even interacting with it lets you see through your hand for a second. This shard is believed to be one of the reasons Jevil went mad, giving him forbidden knowledge, but that's not confirmed. The Shadow Crystal isn't the only thing Jevil gives you as a prize, but also 2 different items, depending on how you defeat him. One way is through violence, which gives you the Devil's Knife, an incredibly strong weapon, especially for Susie. But if you spare Jevil through mercy, you gain the Devil's Tail. It's a J shaped like tails, Jevil, whoa! It's a powerful armor with good stats across the board. Both of these weapons are important, as Jevil gives you these weapons to pass down his strength to you, saying,
Take me into your strongest.
as he gives you these items, he physically becomes them, following you through your adventure. It's proven with some small stuff, like the Devil's Knife smiling at Noelle, a party member you meet later in the game, and the Devil's Knife or tail, laughing after him and the party goes gambling, after supposedly being asleep for 100 years. Whoa, Devil's so cool. I do the exact same thing. The weapons show players that the secret bosses are worth the trouble, especially at how strong the weapons are, even later in the game. And something really interesting with Jevil, even though the game will convince you your choices don't matter, you get to choose which item to get. Jevil grants you the freedom to choose your path. And that's why his message of freedom is so important.
I can do anything.
Jevil, whose identity has been building up to this moment. A secret boss who clearly doesn't fit in with anything else we have seen besides being a playing card. With him being in a kingdom of order, he's the exact opposite. Someone filled with chaos, spinning in his idea of freedom to allow him to do anything he desires. He puts on a show for the player, acting erratic and claiming he can do anything. And through his corruption of the Shadow Crystal, his perception of the world changed, not following the rules, roles, or expectations. He gained a newfound existential freedom. And we even hear this in his theme, Bouncing with Chaos. His song is all over the place, just like a performance. However, there is one part of the song that sticks out like a sore thumb, deemed the freedom motif. These strand of notes stick out with the theme of freedom, and this will even be seen in other secret bosses. But for Jevil, it's important as it's the first time the player finds an outlier. Someone yearning for freedom, but the truth is, he was never free. Everything he was told was going to happen regardless. He knew he was in a video game. He knew the Queen was coming in Chapter 2. Well, so did the King, but Jevil probably told him that. But Jevil knows so much more than everyone else. And as much as Jevil will tell you he's the free one, and you're the prisoner, he is still the one whose destiny is set. But through our interaction with Jevil, he will aid us in trying to stop our prophecy of the Great Roaring. Jevil's existence as a secret boss is fascinating. And although Jevil isn't as fleshed out as much as other future secret bosses, Jevil was the foundation to start a legendary story of bosses that makes you look for them. One where you get the Shadow Crystal, get powerful items, and lastly, one that makes you wonder about their motivation for achieving their own freedom. Well, that's all I have to say about Jevil. He's a pretty sweet character, and he's an amazing inclusion for something so small in the chapter. And especially, making this video made me appreciate him way more. I really hope we get to see more from him in the future. And hey, please don't forget to like and subscribe or share if you enjoyed me rambling on a niche character in a game that isn't even finished. But, even if he was just a foundation of what a secret boss can be, I sure do wonder what comes next. Hey, do y'all hear that?